Good afternoon. My name's Laura from Bright Flamingo. Today I'm going to share my story of growing my accounting business from £200 to over £1 million annual revenue in 5 years without investment. And now I help accounting firm owners. So I'm a consultant and mentor to consulting firm owners. And I'm going to share the story. So I brought this flamingo with me because I have a phobia of public speaking. And I brought it on the stage with me. And I'm going to be looking out for the person that is the most smiley today so that I can give them this flamingo at the end. So I'm going to take you back to the start when I had £200. Now I say I started my business and grew it to £1 million without investment. However, I did get a little bit of investment. This is a £200 crisis grant, and I got this from the local government because I was in a crisis. They don't just give money away. You have to be in dire straits. I got £200, which was for food and travel, and I used the travel money to get to my very first client. At the time, I was a single parent. I had 2 little girls. And there's only a crazy person starts out a business when they don't have any money, no financial backing or anything behind them. So that was my girls back then. They were 8 and 10. And to get the first client, I did what all good business people do, and I went on Facebook. Here I am on Facebook looking for my first client. You can see that I was looking for clients at £35 a month. Now, on the basis that I grew a business to over £1 million annual revenue, that takes a lot of £35. You don't need to be a genius to work that one out. So over the years, I had to change, and I had to adapt as the business grew. But I was fortunate that after being in these Facebook groups, I managed to get my first client. And I drove to their premises, and they paid me £250 for 3 full days' work. But that first client was the one that got me going and started the ball rolling so that I could grow a business. My first office, I don't know if you can see that, very small, not much to talk about. There was 2 desks there, but actually there was only me. And I hoped that one day that I would get big enough and do enough to have someone just sitting beside me and able to help me with some of the work. Later on, as the business grew, I found LinkedIn. And I know you're probably all sitting here in the audience after you've maybe seen my LinkedIn posts every single day, and you might wish that I hadn't found LinkedIn, but I did. And LinkedIn was absolutely fantastic for me. Over 5-6 year period, I would say that I have generated about £3 million worth of work on LinkedIn. It's a fantastic platform. If you are not using it for your accounting business, you're missing a trick. There is a huge amount you can get from LinkedIn. I'm running a masterclass on the 10th of June. If you would like to come to that masterclass to find out exactly how I used LinkedIn to grow my business, there's 2 ways of doing that. One is take a selfie with me, post it on social media, and I will give you access to the class. The other way is to pay £149 plus VAT, and you can come to the class and learn all about it. As I was growing the business, growing a business is tough. There's no getting away from the fact that growing a business is really tough. There's not a 5-step plan, there's not a blueprint or a playbook that you can just pick off the shelf to let you run a business. So I think it's all about mindset, and it's all about how you think about things. So one of the things I did in the early days was I got in the mindset of labeling clients. So every single client had something that they were for me. So I had my mortgage clients, so I had a number of clients that they paid my mortgage. I had my car payment client, and that was the clients that paid my car, food clients, and so on and so forth. When you're sitting in front of somebody and they are your mortgage client, take it a lot more seriously than just, I just make money. So labeling clients is a fantastic just mindset hack to, start to grow a business. Fast forward to 2020, and COVID hit. At that point in time, I had a few retained clients, but I didn't have a business that was going to pay me throughout COVID. And I remember the day that it locked down, I had £9,000 in the bank, a few team members to pay, and project work. All projects were cancelled, or all cancelled overnight. And I'm sat there thinking, geez, this is tough, like everybody else, you know? I took to LinkedIn and I started to help people to be able to navigate COVID. And suddenly, the snowball started rolling, and I got all these clients, and it started to get bigger and bigger, because actually we were set up to work in the cloud. My business was called Empowered by Cloud, so we were ideally placed for being able to help clients. So COVID was actually quite good for us overall. During lockdown, I went on a masterclass, and it was one of Amanda C. Watt's programs, which was absolutely fantastic. And what I took from that was to choose a niche, and actually to choose an area that I was going to focus on and make sure that we became known for that area. We went all in with it. Now, I know if you're running a firm, you're perhaps thinking about a niche because you maybe know the benefit of having one, but you're maybe a bit scared. You're a bit scared to go all in with it. One of the best things that I did for my business was to go completely all in on a niche. We chose the construction industry, and that was just where it really started to grow. The website got changed, all of our marketing got changed, and we went absolutely all in. The thing with choosing a niche is that once you have one, and if you do go all in with it, you're then going up against somebody looks at your marketing versus a generalist's marketing, and they generally will choose you because they want a specialist. And it's the same for us when we go to pick somebody to deliver a service. You want a specialist that can help you. So that was great. I became the go-to person in the UK for construction accounting. And it would be very, very unusual for there to be a LinkedIn post or something go up where someone was looking for a construction accountant, and my name wouldn't be up there. When you become the go-to person, what happens is you become an authority in the space, and your fees can go up. As your fees go up, your profits go up, you can hire more people, and again, it just starts rolling from there. So I can't recommend highly enough picking a niche for your business. But it doesn't have to be a sector. You don't have to go construction or hospitality or something like that. You could look at mindset, or you could look at the pain point that somebody has and look to solve that. There are naturally lots of issues when you're growing a business, and I had many. The difference between me and some other people is I'm just daft enough to share it. So I tell people what the issues are and what the things are that have happened along the way. I'm going to tell you a few of these issues, the things that happened as I was growing a business. One of them was I employed somebody at one point, and I had a remote business. I employed somebody at one point, and I later found out that actually they had 2 jobs. They weren't just working for me, they were working full-time for somebody else as well. And they had nailed the doubling your hourly rate. The only thing was that I got half the output and they got paid twice. So that's just one of the things that happens. But I didn't put tracking devices on people's computers or anything like that. We worked on trust. Another thing that happened was I spent £6,000 on a Facebook ad to learn that actually high-value services like a virtual finance department is a huge decision in someone's life, and they don't buy it from a Facebook ad. So £6,000, 3 months at £2,000 a month to learn that lesson. The next one was we opened a Manchester office. And I was absolutely going for growth. We were going to open an Edinburgh office, a London office, a Manchester office. So the Manchester office, the ball got rolling. Great. Posted it all over social media. We're going to be opening this Manchester office. It's going to be amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Only it didn't work out. We opened it on a Monday, and we had the grand opening. The following Monday, we had the grand closing. And I had to go back onto social media. Now, you can imagine the embarrassment. I spent the weekend in bed under the duvet thinking, I can't believe I've just opened a Manchester office and I'm going to have to close it. So I'm under the duvet for the weekend thinking, oh my goodness, not only have I've got to go back to social media and tell them that my Manchester office is just closed. So I did. And like every other thing that's happened along the way, I was just honest, just completely honest. It's not worked out. And I'm sure there are a few people going, ha, 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 but the majority of people are supportive. So that was a few of the terrible things that happened. A concept that I like to talk about is grading your clients. Now, this is not a new concept. You've all heard it before. But what I find with firms is that you look at grading from a service perspective. So an A client gets better service. A B client gets a little bit less service, and C, and so on. I would invite you to actually grade your clients by profit and look at where the profit in your business is. And when you do that, you'll end up with this D-grade clients that are your least profitable in your organization. Something that blows my mind, and has done for a long time, is that we work in an industry where there is a skills shortage. So it's difficult to get good quality people. But we are out there recruiting for people within a skills shortage to service loss-making work. And I can't get my head around that. I genuinely cannot get my head around why we do that. So the next time you are going to hire, have a look at your grading. And the D-grade clients, it's a great opportunity for you to go and reprice them, because every D-grade client really should be a C, or they shouldn't be with your business. And that's ultimately the way that I looked at it. So every time I went to hire, I would always look at my client base and recycle it. I would plan churn. So deliberately plan churn. Now, I worked in a volatile industry, so the construction industry has a lot of insolvency and things like that. So I used to plan for 15% churn. That's what would be my budgets. A typical accounting firm, I guess you would say, maybe 5 to 8% would be a rough churn value. But by planning for it, I knew it was coming, and also there was deliberate churn. There was the churn that I had actually actively went to seek to improve my profitability and improve my business. I had, again, a mindset of making losses is not an option. And I think sometimes firm owners can be almost happy to accept losses. It's just part of business, isn't it? Again, I would take the mindset of making losses are not an option. You cannot make losses. For me, I physically couldn't make losses because I didn't have a pot of money to go into. And sometimes when you do have a pot of money, that can end up being a way that you almost say, well, it's okay. Not making losses and saying making losses is not an option is a great mindset to have. Whenever I launch something, I don't plan it to perfection. I don't sit and spreadsheet it to death. I ask myself if I have the ability to deliver it, and if I've got the capacity to deliver it. If I can answer yes to both of those things, we're in sales mode, and that's the next step. Because ultimately, if the market isn't going to buy it from you, you're wasting all your time on the spreadsheets. You're wasting all your time thinking about it over and over, and what if this, and what if that, and what if the next thing. The main question is, what if nobody buys it? If nobody buys it, you're going nowhere. So messy launches is a great way to get your service or whatever you're launching out to market. Absolutely everything that I launched, I did this way. My new business and everything I've done with that, again, has been done the same. If it's on LinkedIn, I've probably thought about it 10 minutes before. It's there, ready to sell. Once it's there and it's sold, then I work out how I'm going to deliver it. Which takes me on to not overthinking. Who in this audience overthinks things before you actually launch them? And that is what slows you down. It slows you down hugely because you spend all this time procrastinating, thinking what could go wrong, what could go right. I guess I'm perhaps an underthinker. I'm like let's jump in, let's get it sorted, and we'll work it out later on. I was obsessed with people. Now, I don't mean in the Brad Burton kind of stalker obsessed. I was obsessed with how people tick and what makes them want to come to work. Most people are good, would you agree? Most people are inherently good, and they want to do a good job. But sometimes, and I say we in this, sometimes as accountants, we don't tap into the human aspect of how people work. And if you can think about why someone gets out their bed and decides whether they're going to have a really good day or whether they're just going to coast, it's about understanding their motivators. And I was obsessed with understanding those motivators. It's not about being soft. So when I say I'm obsessed with people, it wasn't because I just did everything that they wanted me to do. It was being obsessed with people to understand how I could help them to be the best that they could possibly be for themselves and for the business. Any time that I was involving the team in different decisions, I would always be looking at it from their perspective. Because when you're standing in front of them and you're saying to them, I want to 5 million turnover, they're like, don't care. It's not going to motivate anybody. They're sitting in that chair thinking, what's in it for me? If you can help them to understand what's in it for them, they will come on the journey with you. And my team absolutely came on the journey with me. And what was really nice, this morning, I had messages from almost every single member of my old team wishing me luck for this today. So I think that tells you something that, they wanted to work with the business. Who's on the hamster wheel? Who's on the hamster wheel going round and round and round? I know you probably don't want to admit it, right? But running an accounting firm can often be like being on a hamster wheel. So when you're on that hamster wheel, you need it to slow down or stop at some point so that you can get off, you can understand what you need to do, and then you can get back on if you need to. Ideally, you wouldn't get back on the hamster wheel. But a way to slow yourself down and to ensure that you're working on strategic things is to have rhythm in the business. I always recommend having a template meeting structure, things that happen all the time. So for example, every week I would have a pipeline meeting. Monday morning, first thing, 15-minute stand-up. It's not a long meeting. And the purpose of that was to take prospective clients to paying clients as quickly as we possibly could and to make sure that was happening. Other meetings I would have would be a weekly delivery meeting, a weekly capacity meeting. Then for monthly meetings, I would have monthly one-to-ones. I would have a monthly board meeting and a monthly marketing meeting. Quarterly, I would have strategic planning days, and then I would have an annual team away weekend. Every time that you have one of these meetings, if you make sure that they are in your diary forever, not just for the next week or for the next month, put them in your diary forever so that you make sure that these things happen. Now, having those in the diary, they help no end. Another mindset hack, £1,000 an hour focus. I always think that every hour of my time is worth £1,000. Now, I don't mean that I'm going to charge someone £1,000 for that hour. What I mean is that every time I'm going to spend an hour of my time, it's worth £1,000. When you're looking at your diary for the week, do you know the software vendor that wants you to go on and try their software? Sorry, Patrick. I'm looking at that and saying, is this worth £1,000? Right? And that helped me make decisions about where my time was going to be spent. The networking meeting that you're going to, if it's a good quality networking meeting, fantastic. That's absolutely a £1,000 an hour task to do. But if it's not, then take it out the diary. So before you go to work next week and you look ahead to Monday, have a look at everything that's in your diary and see if there's anything in there that's not worth £1,000. Because if it's not worth £1,000, take it out. I always set goals for the business, which meant having an annual budget and then tracking against that every single month. The number of people who don't actually track against a budget is huge. And I work with a lot of different business owners, and a very, very small percentage of them would have had an annual budget and actually tracked against it, which is quite interesting given that we are accountants and that's one of the things we sell. So if you have an accounting firm and you don't have an annual budget, make sure that you've got one for yourself. And don't use it to constrict and to make yourself small. Use it as a tool to help you push and to help you to grow your business and get it to where you want to go. When we were looking to hit £1 million, which we hit £1 million on the 5-year anniversary, not actually on that day, but in that year, we hit that, but we'd set that out. That was the plan. We put that in our plan that we wanted to hit £1 million in 5 years. So when you map things out and you track against it, funnily enough, you get closer to your goals. A concept I talk about a lot is getting in the helicopter. Now, if you can think about that in your business, you're probably running through the weeds and you're doing things and getting involved in things that you maybe shouldn't be. Getting in the helicopter involves the helicopter comes down, it lands, you get in it, the helicopter drives up above your business, and you look down. You look down on what's happening day to day, and you plan your moves. Like a game of chess, you're looking at what you want to do next. A way of doing that is actually to have board meetings. Again, we're accountants, we go to clients' board meetings, but how many people have a board meeting for themselves in their business, religiously, that doesn't get cancelled, that has a clear focus that you're working towards to move your business forward? If you are a sole practitioner or you're a small business and you have no one else to come to your board meetings, have board meetings with yourself. Get into the discipline of sitting down and having a board meeting with yourself. Take notes, write an executive summary, and make sure that you actually have that every single month. I always had external support, right the way through the business. Coaches, mentors, consultants. The reason I actually started working with Brad Burton in the first place was because I was looking to get my team on the same page. So I reached out to Brad and said, can you come in and do some of your team maker days, etc. I can't stress how much of a strength it is to bring people into your business. It is not a weakness. It is absolutely a strength. You will go further if you have people around about you. So we hit the million in April 2023. And as a reward for the team, we took them to Portugal. We took them on a 5-star, all expenses paid trip to Portugal. We also took Brad Burton with us to run one of our days out there. And it was absolutely fantastic. People look at me and say, you spent what? When I tell them how much it cost. But actually, having spent that, it was an investment in the team that absolutely paid off. Most people have an underperforming team member, or they're paying the recruitment fees, or they are dealing with issues in their business. I wasn't doing that. I was taking them all to Portugal 5-star. And I would rather spend money like that and have a happy team, people that wanted to work with me, and I used to say they're all A players, than have all of these other issues. So choose your issues. That would be the main thing I would say. That was in September 23 that we went to Portugal, and things started to change there. Things changed in my personal circumstances, which caused me to think about whether I wanted to continue on in the business. So around about that stage, there was kind of thoughts around what I was going to do next. But when you are running the business, you need to have a mindset shift from being an accountant to being a business owner. I talk about stop practicing and start businessing, because as accountants, in accountancy, we're practitioners, and we're basically taught to practice and to work directly with clients. Other businesses don't run like that. If you can think about it, they have a C-suite and they have all the different people doing different things. If you can think about your business or your accounting firm as a business, not a practice, I think that helps to move forward. It certainly helped me. And what I learned over the years in business is, again, there is no silver bullet. There is no magic formula. Nobody in Accountex has it. You can go and you can spend all day looking for it, but nobody has it because it doesn't exist. All that happens is business, it doesn't get easier, you just get better. You get better at bouncing back from the setbacks. I used to say I was like a weeble. You've seen the weebles that you push over and they just get back up again. And you just have to get up faster and faster and be able to become more resilient. So yeah, definitely does not get easier. You just have different challenges. Doesn't matter how big you get, there's a different set of challenges for you to deal with. One thing that I would do differently if I was to go again, and I'm not going to go again, but one thing I would do differently, quite difficult because everything that happens takes you to where you're meant to be. If you had to push me, I would say that I would probably hire more expensive, experienced people earlier and not take trainees. I started with the trainees and then built up from there, so that's certainly something I'd do differently. But ultimately, it takes you to where you should be. And now I've got a little baby, she's in the front row, 4.5 months old, and life's about family. So it's... So life's about family. If I can leave you with one thing today, it's to stop practicing and start businessing. And thank you very much.
Laura Taylor, boys and girls, thank you so much.
Super.